Hey, welcome back. Hope you're having a most fantastic day today. Last time I think we talked about PPTI, so that's people, process, technology, and information, and how I like to break a subject down. Now, I'm not saying it's the only way of doing it. Of course, there's a million and one ways of learning something new, but I like to take sort of direct action as soon as I can with a subject. I usually have a very long build-up to learning something. I have to persuade myself. It took me a long time. It's taken me over a year to make the first video in this channel, and I had to really question my motives. I thought, what I don't want this to be is some weird, ego play, for my self-aggrandizement. Nobody needs that. Nobody needs another guru. Nobody needs another expert telling them this is how you do things. I'm the furthest thing away from that. I'm a below average guy trying to think about the next steps, towards retirement, while still maintaining a purpose, while still hopefully contributing something to society. I'm a very, very strong believer in, we're here to help others if we can. And I was conscious that I hadn't really, apart from very large multinationals, I hadn't really contributed anything of any great note, apart from obviously tax and so forth, through payment, like everybody else does, to society. And I thought, well, if I was in a position of wanting to learn something, of, maybe taking advantage of, what I've learned, would that be of any use to anybody? And I really had to question myself for a very long time. One, because I wouldn't call myself in any way an extrovert, hence the mask, right? I don't like myself out there. I have a real problem with ego. I think a little bit of ego for some people is quite healthy, but for me, I feel really uncomfortable with it, because I don't want to say I know something that you don't know, because I don't. Anything I've learned, I share as freely as I can with work colleagues, with businesses that I work for, and all the rest of it. So my motivation is really to be as transparent as possible, to be as open as possible, just to be a conduit to help, just one person. If I can help one person, then I'll feel like this is worthwhile. It is for me as well. I'm going to say that right now. It's a journey. It's a diary. If nobody watches it, I'm still going to enjoy having done it, because I'll learn something by just, learning how to film, learning how to mic myself up, learning how to make the videos interesting. They're awful at the moment. They're going to be terrible, That's great. This is the fun part of learning anything new. It's when you start, it's so rough, it's awful. But hopefully it gets a little bit better each time you do it. Now, I anticipate that no one's going to watch a single one of these videos for the first at least 100 videos, at which time hopefully I might have some flashy graphics. I might have some, some reasonable looking thumbnails, maybe some decent, not clickbaity, but some decent titles. But I'm learning, and that's the most fantastic part of life. And if I can share that sort of, I guess, love of that learning, just for its own sake, not with any real intent in mind, with you, then this channel will have succeeded. And I'm looking at areas I know literally nothing about, absolutely nothing. So I'm starting probably in a much lower knowledge base than you are. I'm not a very smart person. I'm not academic. I'm a D student at best. But I have certain methods that I use to try and simplify it for myself, so that I can at least absorb it and try and get some of the benefits of whatever it is I'm learning. Repetition, I think, is the thing with me. Just go over and over and over and over and over. So with that being said, what areas am I interested in learning? What do I know nothing at all about? Well, I think a big one for me is health. So we talked about HWH, so that's health, wealth and happiness. And my contention is basically that, if you can get your health right, that means you've got longevity, that means you've got a longer health span, which means that you've got the potential to learn more, potentially to offer more to other people. That's my motivation there, nothing more than that. And then on the wealth side of things, I know nothing. Isn't it awful? I've got to, nearly 60 years of age, and I know nothing about finance, really. I'm very, very, very limited in my financial education. And that's an awful thing to have to admit, but it's not something that really ever interested me. I know money makes the world go round. It's very important. I don't denigrate in any way people who are wealth makers. I rather admire them. I think the world needs those people to drive the economy, to push boundaries, to level us all up. So I'm a huge believer in capitalism. It has its downsides like everything else, but I think in the whole, I think it's lifted more people out of poverty than any other system of finance that we've ever seen. Again, feel free to comment below if you don't agree. I'm sure there's many people who don't. And then happiness, I think if you can get the health bit right, staying healthy enough so you can spend time with your children, maybe with your family, then, that's going to lead to opportunities for happiness. They're not going to guarantee happiness, of course. Nobody can guarantee that. But it's going to give you more opportunities. And I'm not sure if it was LeBron James. I'm going to misquote. I always do. I apologize. But someone said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I'm a huge believer in that. Someone else said, people don't realize they're walking around in fields of diamonds. I also believe that, but I would caveat that a little bit and say, yeah, that's the sweetness bit. That's the positive aspects, and there's nothing wrong at all with that. But what I would also say is, there's diamonds, but there's also landmines. So you're in a field, yes, and yes, it is covered in diamonds, but it's also covered in landmines, and it's trying to tiptoe your way around those landmines in as far as you can, whilst picking up the diamonds and sharing them with everybody else. And that's my philosophy, essentially. So the next things that I need to do is I need to work out where even to start learning about health. And what do I mean by health? Again, I'm not a fitness guru in any means. I'm going to give a little bit of history of my sad tale of woe from COVID. Unfortunately, COVID did affect me rather badly, and I almost died, unfortunately. Hospitalized with atrial fibrillation and all the goodies that came with that. I survived. This was about 3 years ago, but I've aged probably 20 years, and I'm already nearly 60, so I'm not in the best of shape, shall we say. So I'm, struggling to exercise, but doing the bits that you can do. But I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to exercise. I don't know what the goal should be. I don't know what the exercises should be. I don't know if I'm doing it right. I don't know what my nutrition should look like. So I'm hoping, with the help of maybe some courses that I need to look at doing, to learn more. And whatever little bit that I can learn, I will gladly share with you. And I'm sure, hopefully, you will share what you already know. You may already be an expert in this area, and I really would appreciate any help, any advice, and I'm sure everybody else would as well. So if you have that, please put it in the comments. Please share your learnings, because I think everybody's got something valuable to share in that area. Unfortunately, I don't know too much. I think my thoughts around this are, again, going back to the previous video, shortcutting the process. When I was about 44, I got into my head that I'd like to learn to ski. I had never really skied. I think I had one weekend when I was 13, maybe 12, going with the school, like many people do, and I fell down a hill in Italy for a full week, and then got a badge, for surviving, I guess. It was about 1981, maybe even earlier than that, maybe 1980. And that's how they did things back in the day. There was no real instruction. It was survival of the fittest, and hopefully you made it back. We had 2-meter skis, and I never thought about skiing again, honestly. In fact, the idea just would have finish me. Anyway, I got into my head, I wouldn't mind having another go. I went to one of these internal snow domes, and that we have in the UK, and I took some lessons. I was terrible. I was awful. But the good news was the skis were only about maybe, let's say, 2/3 the size that they had been, and I was an adult by this point as well, so I was able to turn the skis a little bit better. I was still terrible, but I just plodded along, and over a period of time I did the first 3 lessons, and then I practiced a little bit, and then there's another 3 lessons for intermediates, and I did those 3 lessons and practiced a little bit, and I started to enjoy it. I was absolutely awful. No coordination at all, no ability, no talent whatsoever. But plodded on. And then there was 3 more lessons. There was an advanced set of lessons. I thought, well, I may as well have a go at those. I'll probably be awful, and I was awful. I don't mind telling you, I was absolutely dreadful. But I went on them anyway. Again, there was a lot of learning, a lot of falling, a lot of bruising. I wasn't a young man by that point, but I wasn't ancient either. But I managed to get through them. And then one of the instructors said, well, there's an advanced one beyond this, if you'd be interested. Probably thought, this poor sap needs to be parted from his money, and he seems keen anyway. So I plodded on and did that, and managed again to get through it. By the stage, I'd probably been doing about 6-7 months, something like that. I was skiing, relatively competently, without killing anybody or anything like that. They then said, oh, there's a pre-instructor class. Would you be interested in joining that? I thought, why not? If they think that I'm competent enough to join it, I am happy to join it. So I did. And I plodded my way through that as well. And fortunately got out the other side of that. And then they said, well, there's a instructor level course, level 1. Would you like to go on that? Yeah, why not? It was a week off work, but I was quite into it at this point. And I managed to get through. And I thought, and about 8 months later, I was, this qualified, level 1 ski coach. And I thought, do you know what? All I did was put one foot in front of the other and kept plodding. And I kept getting encouragement from fantastic instructors and great mentors and all that sort of thing. And I have to say, they were all literally half my age. And I was agog. And I think the only thing that I would say, the difference that I had probably between myself and someone else, when I did see other people struggling, is because they let their head, they were thinking about what they'd been told. I was a bit different. I was, I hate to say it, monkey see, monkey do. That's the level at which I operate, unfortunately. I was imitating what I was seeing. I wasn't getting the entire result. I wasn't seeing the subtleties that were, that you learn, but I was getting some of the outputs that I was seeing from the inputs that the instructors were sort of showing us. And I just put my brain into neutral, which wasn't difficult for me because I'm a bit thick, as I say. But I managed to get through it. And then a year later, I did the same thing with snowboarding. And you might think, well, snowboarding and skiing is, pretty similar. They're not. They're nothing like each other. It was as though I literally started again from scratch. The point that I'm making to you is, anybody can learn anything if they just put their brain into neutral, if they have great instruction as well, and they don't try and overthink it. They just, because you'll learn what works for you, bespoke to you, as you go along, and what works for someone won't work for somebody else. But the people I saw struggling on both of those courses were people who were either really highly skilled, so basically ski racers, and they race competitively. Now that's a very different sort of sport to your average sort of ski instructor, and they had to dial back all the advanced techniques that they actually knew, so they had to unlearn. It was a lot harder for them. There were other people who were questioning everything they were doing, and again, it was a real struggle for them because they were overthinking it. They were trying to think the way to a physical movement. So I'm very much of the sort of monkey see, monkey do. And so I need to find myself. And the reason why I never want to be a ski instructor, just to be clear. The reason I raised this is because I thought, well, who are good skiers? Who are good skiers? Who are people that you would look at and say they know what they're doing? They're competent, they're safe, and if you want to learn it properly, it's like no different than learning to drive, right? You wouldn't have 3 lessons from a driving instructor and then what? Suddenly you're an expert driver. And I saw that many people do 3 lessons just to get going on the skis, and they were away. And in fact, one of them was my mate. I'm not going to say too much because I may have a video with him in the future. So, but you know, he did three lessons. So there's only a certain level that he was ever going to get to. So I'm a huge believer in getting proper instruction, not trying to shortcut it too much. I'm going to swear now, and half-ass things. I want to get the full benefit of what they know and go as far as I can go. I may not be able to go to the full extent of that course, whatever course it is. So if it's something highly intellectual, chances are I'm not equipped up here to be able to, to follow that course. But with that said, I think there's some great personal training certificates that, if I'm going to do a course and learn it properly, rather than learning from different videos on the internet, of which there are hundreds, as you probably know yourself, then I'm probably going to take the time out to pick a course that's internationally recognised, that's at a decent level, that covers the basics at least of nutrition, how to do the exercises correctly, how to program those exercises so that there's a systematized way of getting results for the client. The client in this case is me, of course. And I'm thinking of, I think it's called the NASM. And I know Black Friday's coming up, so there's a deal. So got to get my finances sorted, but that I think would be a great opportunity. So that's what I'm thinking about doing. And of course I'll share with you every step of the way how I'm doing it. It'll all be online, no doubt. And yeah, see if I can plod my way through that one. That would be marvelous, because then at least I know I've got at least a base layer of understanding, and it's something you can build on. So that's the health sort of side of things. Now on the wealth side of things, it gets a bit more complicated. I think I take the same approach. I still believe that getting a systematic, full covering, buttering of the toast, if you want to say, of learning, I think is important. Even if it's a really thin layer, but it's a complete layer. I think that's like super important, because then from there you can decide which. There's always your specialisms or whatever, but if you get the base of that pyramid right, then everything that you build on top of it is going to make sense. If you don't get it right, if you start to build sort of Jenga, like tall towers of specialist knowledge without the rest of the base of knowledge, I think I'm going to come unstuck. I've seen that happen in technology spaces a lot, where people have got very detailed understanding of one particular area, but they don't understand the sort of the bigger picture. So with all that being said, I'm looking at some, I want to say professional qualification again, something internationally recognised. Again, I'm not doing it for professional purposes. There's no chance that I'm ever going to be a financial advisor, right? But that would be the route that I go, because, I want to share knowledge that's got, real, depth to it, and has been recognised as being, internationally acceptable. What I don't want to do, if I do share any sort of financial tips and tricks and whatever, is talk from a place of complete, absolute ignorance. That would be the worst thing in the world to me. My whole goal here is to cause as little harm as possible. And so I think with that in mind, again, I'm looking at, I'm not sure the exact name of the course, but I think it's something like a diploma in financial advice or something like that. I'll investigate. I'll report back. I'll give you a little bit more detail. And finally, on the happiness side of things, well, that's the great exciting part, because I can learn anything. We can learn anything, and I have so many things that I've always wanted to do. I've never had the time to do them, and my family's largely grown up now, being an old guy, and I've got a bit of time on my hands. And so I'd like to explore, basic things like learning to play the guitar. And I don't mean play fantastically, I mean strum four chords, and be able to play, a variety of songs. Not in any great, skill level. I'd love to learn another language. I have tried so many times. And again, I think I've tried to, no disrespect to Duolingo, it's been a wonderful resource, but it isn't working for me. I need to actually, I think, immerse myself into something. I'm thinking, a couple of languages that, I'm very interested in, which would be fantastic to learn if I could. Norwegian is one, believe it or not. I absolutely love Norway. I think it's a phenomenal country, just beautiful, beautiful country, beautiful people. And yeah, I would love to learn Norwegian. I wouldn't need to learn Norwegian because they speak fantastic English, of course, and it puts me to shame, quite frankly, but there we are. French, it would be a language that I would love to learn. But I think the most important one for me at the moment would be Spanish. I think that has got the most versatility. If I was ever to maybe be lucky enough to travel to Spain or to South America, for example, that would just be great. I love the Spanish people as well. So those are a few things that I've got in my eye on. I'd like to try and write a story of some description. I want to say book because I think that would be stretching it. Write a story. How does that even work? What is the anatomy of a story? Is it something that can be learned? I would love to learn how to draw and to paint. You notice these are all arts, right? This is all the hobbies that you never get paid for, right? You never get paid for. So there are a few of the ideas I've got, and I'm sure, what are your dreams? What is it you're looking to learn? Please, you've got to share your comments. Tell us all about it in the comments below. Share, your approach, what you would recommend, what you've already done, and I look forward to reading those comments. And for now, I've rambled long enough, so I really do appreciate your time. Thank you for listening, and I think it's the start of a wonderful journey. So with that, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Until next time, I wish you a great day.